Hey guys, EC Network here, coming at you with another video. So it looks like Young Justice has been cancelled. Coming off of Young Justice Season 4 Phantoms, there's been a lot of speculation on whether or not the series would be getting a 5th season on HBO Max, and we now have what seems to be confirmation from one of the producers of the show that at least as of right now, there is going to be no Season 5. So this all comes from Greg Wiseman on Twitter. Essentially, a fan asked him, hey, the Comic-Con panels for Warner Brothers have been announced and I don't see anything for Young Justice. Does this mean we're not going to have a new season announced there? And Greg responded saying, no one has talked to me about any convention appearances. Draw your own conclusions. So yeah, it looks like Young Justice is not getting a season 5, at least as of right now. And this could mark the end of Young Justice, the end for Young Justice a second time, that is, unless it gets revived again. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm really not at all surprised that this is happening to Young Justice. I am not surprised at all that there will not be a season 5. If you guys saw my video from about, I think, 2 months ago at this point, the video was titled, I'm Done With Young Justice. I said in that video that honestly, I don't think there's going to be a season 5. Just because of the quality of the revival of the series has been so much lower than the actual original series itself. Seasons 1 and 2 are far beyond the quality of seasons 3 and 4. Seasons 3 and 4, in my opinion, don't compare to the narrative that's being told in 1 and 2. I talked about in that video how I thought season 3 overall was just a forgettable season. It just wasn't great. And I talked about how season 4, in my opinion, is just a complete and utter mess. There is no structure to it. There is no cohesive narrative being told. It's just a bunch of one-and-off type stories, and I stopped watching at the point at which, we had the Atlantis arc. When that ended, I stopped watching, so I didn't see the Rocket one, nor did I see the last one with Nightwing. And I know I've heard that the last arc is really good. I've seen comments saying, DC Network, you've gotta go back on Young Justice to see the last arc, because it is actually really good. And honestly, at this point, I just don't care to watch Young Justice anymore. I feel like, I've seen people talking about season 4 online, saying, oh wow, the season itself was bad, but that finale was amazing. What a great season. In my opinion, having a good finale to a show that in general isn't good doesn't make that show good. If episodes 1 through 20 aren't great, and then episodes, 21 through 26 are actually amazing, I still would consider that season to be bad, just because the entire product, the entire season, was lacking in the quality department, and then the last 4 or 5 episodes were amazing. To me, that doesn't make the whole season amazing. And like I said before, it would seem that, at least from what we're hearing right now, Young Justice isn't being renewed by Warner Media, or rather Warner Brothers Discovery, which, by the way, that's going to take a lot of getting used to saying Warner Brothers Discovery now as opposed to Warner Media, but that's besides the point. So it looks like internally Warner Brothers Discovery doesn't want to make another season, and why is that? Because the fan reception hasn't been good to the revival. Like I said before, I would argue season 3 is forgettable and season 4 is just a complete and utter mess, so the ratings have been going down for the show. I've seen people online saying, hey, yeah, I'm not even watching Young Justice anymore because it's not worth my time. It's not the same show that it was during season 1 and season 2. They're seeing this, the executives are seeing this, and that's probably the reason why we're not getting a season 5. And to be honest with you guys, I'm perfectly fine with this happening. I said back in that I'm Done With Young Justice video, I honestly don't really want to see a season 5. Like, if it happens, it happens. I'm not going to watch it either way. But I feel like at a given point when you're doing something new with a certain property, if you're just driving the name of that property into the ground, if the quality of that show's gone so low that it's, not the same show anymore, essentially, in my opinion, I'd rather them just end the show and do something else. Like, for example, I know this is a completely unrelated show, but like SpongeBob. SpongeBob has been on Nick for the past 21 years. It's been on for, actually, at this point, 23 years. It's been on for a long time. I would argue that the quality of SpongeBob, in my opinion, has gotten to the point where I'd rather them not make SpongeBob anymore. It's been like that for a while. I feel like after like season 5 or 6, that's the point where I really was like, okay, this show should probably just end, because the quality of the show, if you watch season 1 versus what are they on now, season 11 or 12? If you watch season 1 to 11 or 12, it's not the same show. It's not even remotely similar. So I feel like when you get to that point with a property, it's just not worth making more episodes anymore. If you enjoyed Young Justice season 3 and 4, that's perfectly fine. I'm glad you enjoyed it. But in my opinion, if you take a step back and compare it to the first 2 seasons, it doesn't even feel like the same show. It just feels like something completely different. It feels like something that's disconnected. It feels like something that had no clear direction to it. For example, I will say, like I said, I did not see the last 2 arcs of season 4. But we had in season 3 Prince Brion, who was a major character, I would say, of season 3, and obviously at the end of the season, he kind of turned bad. He wasn't exactly being a superhero. Up until the end of the Atlantis arc, again, like I said, I haven't seen the Rocket or Nightwing arc. He's not in season 4 at all. There's a little mention of him, like I believe there was like a flashback or something with Beast Boy, but there's no actual mention of him. He's not in the season. Like, he has a cameo in a flashback, maybe he was on a news report too. That was it. He's not actually taking an active role in the season. And you would think that since Brion was a major character in season 3, since he kind of ended in a bad spot and everyone was like, oh no, don't be bad, like stay with us, stay with the outsiders, don't become a bad guy, and obviously he decided to go rule his land. And then in season 4, they just kind of forget about that. That to me shows that the show has no structure. That to me shows that the creators, the producers of the series, they don't know what the narrative is that they're trying to tell. They're telling little stories here and there, but when you take a step back and look at the 4 seasons as a whole, what is the narrative you're trying to tell? And that's where I think this show really struggled. And that's why I think it's not going to get a season 5. As of right now, we know the producers have not been approached by Warner Brothers Discovery for a 5th season. This is the end of Young Justice as of right now, and honestly, I'd rather it end and they move on and make something new instead of just kind of, making a lackluster product with the Young Justice name. I'd rather you create something brand new, do what you did in Young Justice with that show, because if you look at Young Justice as a whole, there is no cohesive narrative, there is no start end point to the story. It's just a bunch of side stories thrown in there and calling it a season, which that's fine for another show. Like, literally, that is the entirety of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Star Wars The Clone Wars is a bunch of 4-episode stories arcs throughout the entire run of that series. That works for that show because that's the identity of that show. But when you take a series like Young Justice that had, each season had its own cohesive narrative, and then all of a sudden you watch the new latter seasons and it's just all disjointed with a bunch of random story arcs, that's not the structure of that series. That's not what that series set out to do. So at that point, stop making that show and make something else with that structure. Anyways, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about all of this. Are you guys surprised that there is not going to be a season 5 of Young Justice, at least as of right now? Are you happy, sad? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.